Welcome back to the countdown of the best horror released between October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021. I wouldn't go so far as to call today's pairing nunsploitation, but both have women of the cloth as central figures and involve the corruption of religion in one form or another. Let's get holy. This is M.L. Miller Frights' Best in Horror Countdown 2020-2021. Number 4. Coming in at number 4 is Saint Maud. It was released January 29th, 2021. You can catch Saint Maud streaming on Hulu and Amazon Prime. It's directed and written by Rose Glass. Maud, played by Morfydd Clark, is assigned by a private nursing firm to care for Amanda, played by Jennifer Ehle, a former socialite and famous dancer who is in the final stages of lymphoma. While Amanda appears to be an atheist, Maud feels strongly that she can save her through prayer. For an undetermined amount of time, Maud seems to have connections with a higher power, and these moments have been increasing in frequency the closer Maud gets to Amanda. As Maud's investment intensifies, Amanda simply entertains her, and then publicly mocks her at her birthday party. This causes Maud to lash out, which results in Maud losing her job. But without this essential duty in Maud's life, her mental state begins to crumble, and she believes she is moving closer and closer to sainthood, in a world that doesn't seem to believe in God. Saint Maud is a simple story made complex through fascinating portrayals of damaged people, rich symbolism, and nightmarish direction. It's a typical descent into madness tale, which in itself isn't necessarily unique, but add the religious angle and things get kind of interesting. Basically, this is a story of a woman who experiences hallucinations that foster the idea that she has a very personal relationship with God. Is this relationship real? Do the things Maud experiences really happen, or are they all just delusions of a sick mind? Filmmaker Rose Glass isn't in any rush to let the viewer know one way or another, and presents this film as if at any time it could turn into a supernatural horror film, or just remain simply a psychological horror film with more grounded sensibilities in the world that's going on around Maud's mind. It's this slow, methodical dance that creates all of the tension in Saint Maud that is ever present throughout the entire film. In many ways, whether or not the horror Maud witnesses is really unimportant, simply because the journey Maud is taking is so fascinatingly painful to watch. Morfydd Clark portrays Maud as a relative innocent. Her quiet yet occasionally stern demeanor feels as if she is constitutionally strong in the way she passionately believes in the Word of God and the healing power that can come from that belief. It isn't until well into the film, when Maud meets a woman from her past, that there might be some kind of suggestion that the shoulders that have been carrying us all of this time might not see the world like everyone else does. While Maud does seem to have some kind of attacks that may be epilepsy or some other kind of chemical imbalance, the tightrope walked in the first half of this film really is thin, and could teeter either in the direction of psychological horror or supernatural very easily. Now, halfway through, when more cards are shown, we understand what type of film Saint Maud is. Sure, after she loses her job, Maud is portrayed as a tragically flawed character, but even still, she might be haunted by these holy spirits. The film doesn't necessarily try to answer the question as to whether God exists. Rather, through Maud's stern and simplistic mode of thinking, we're shown how attempting to find that answer can very well drive a person mad. Clark's honest and plain portrayal of Maud is the highlight of the film. She's a character you want to shelter and protect, reminiscent of Sissy Spacek's Carrie in a lot of ways. And it's downright painful watching her make these horrible decisions in an attempt to get closer to what she believes in. Seeing these harrowing moves Maud chooses to suffer for her sins and to elevate herself to some kind of sainthood are some of the same themes that are ever present in the unforgettable Martyrs film. This wouldn't be the most enjoyable night at the movies, but a double feature of Saint Maud and Martyrs seems like a thorough and wicked examination of the same themes marrying pain with godliness. While her role is significantly smaller, Jennifer Ehle's turn as Amanda is significant and crucial as the counterpoint to Maud's methodology. Amanda's salvation is not only Maud's obsession and goal, but it also is what serves as her breaking point. Through very little lines, Ehle is able to convey much as a person suffering from a terminal disease, yet acknowledging Maud for who she really is, and still having the backbone to stand firm in her own beliefs. In every way, Amanda and Maud are sides of the same coin, and Glass represents them in this way in an uncliched, yet still rich way. While it's not overtly gory or graphic, St. Maud is an unsettling film full of twisted imagery that is meant to cause unease and revulsion. Simple close-ups of a cockroach making its way across a ceiling or across a dinner plate, or an image turned upside down, communicate nightmares that most of the goriest horror films dream to reach. The torture Maud puts herself through is painful because Maud presents herself as such a vulnerable person, so while not a lot is shown, the feeling that something horrifying and gruesome is occurring is ever present. St. Maud is filled with all sorts of religious iconography, but while these images can often be cliched, repetitious, and boring, Glass perceives them in a way that highlights how grotesque, horrifying, and misleading they can often be perceived as. Clocking in at just under an hour and a half, St. Maud breezes through a complex story in no time. Through wonderfully surreal music, imagery that incorporates transfixing symbols of heaven and hell, direction that flips reality on its ear, and wonderfully nuanced character work from Clark and Eel, Rose Glass is able to achieve a level of terror that knows no bounds. The final seconds of Maud are uncomfortable, unsettling, and utterly unforgettable. I love St. Maud, as it isn't afraid to explore taboos while never forgetting to serve up rounded out and flawed characters. Maud is a tragic soul to follow no matter if God exists or not, but the story leading up to her terrifying end is absolutely mesmerizing. For today's bonus review, I offer to you The Power. It was released April 8th, 2021. It's available on demand, digital download, and on DVD from RLJE Films. It's also streaming on Shudder. It's directed and written by Corinna Faith. Rose Williams plays Val, a new nurse at a hospital in the 1970s England, where due to the sagging economy, mandated blackouts occur across the land. After rubbing her new supervisor the wrong way, Val is placed on the night shift during one of these blackouts on her very first shift. While the optimistic Val has high hopes to help others as a nurse, when the lights go out, trauma from Val's past, as well as dark secrets hidden within the hospital, come back to haunt her. The Power is a wonderfully atmospheric film with deep darknesses that pull you in and threaten never to let go. Much of the film is simply Val walking through dark hallways of the hospital, but because of some marvelous foreshadowing and an effective use of sound, such as whispers, clangs, and all sorts of odd noises, each step Val takes is excruciating to watch as the terror could come from any direction. Lit by a single lamp or a candle, these scenes of utter darkness are what'll be the thing that sparks nightmares after watching this incredible little ghost story. But The Power plays with metaphor quite masterfully as well, as the title suggests the lack of power that's going on during the blackouts, as well as the lack of power the nurses have as the lower rung on the hospital's totem pole. If you've ever worked in a hospital, you know the pecking order is established and not to be messed with, and anyone stepping outside of their station will definitely be tamped down post-haste. This point is made clear from the beginning as the meek and starry-eyed Val enters the hospital on her first day and makes all of the wrong moves upon her arrival. The Power also comes into play involving the subject of sexual assault in a way that is timely, yet indicative that the powerful taking advantage of the powerless is something that is sadly not a new thing. Writer-director Corinna Faith not only knows how to make the shadows creep and envelop totally, but also knows how to interweave complex and heavy themes into the story to give these shadows even more weight. Rose Williams is perfect for the role of the mousy nurse Val. She's able to convey someone who has been beaten down into subservience, yet still has a spark of hope. It's heartbreaking to see what she endures through this film, but the ending, which gets a bit cliched and muddy unfortunately, gives the actress a chance for redemption even though her future looks pretty bleak by the time the credits roll. Reminiscent of The Vigil, another film that utilizes darks in an ingenious way and puts its protagonist alone in the dark in a spooky-ass place, The Power is another resonant and nerve-shattering reason to fear the dark. Come back tomorrow for the next installment to the Best in Horror Countdown 2021. If you hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below, you're sure never to miss it. See you then.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. side.